Hello, Charlie TCG here, and welcome back to Looking Ahead, the series where I break down and analyse the meta, what's happening over Japan, and how it'll impact our one. Today, we're talking about Giratina and the rise of it in post-rotation. It's an absolutely dominating showing this past week, both in the Arceus build as well as the Lost Zone build. So we're going to break down exactly how Giratina fits in the post-rotation deck. An archetype that some people thought was dead, but actually is performing incredibly well. Has that actually made an impact to the top 16 meta percentage share? We'll also break down some of the top winning lists as well, with some brand new cards and results for the Taiwan City League Championships. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let's jump right into the brand new cards. So we did have a few other ones, the Spidops, which kind of does the retreat cost of the opponent's active Pokemon, which is evolved, is one more, which is pretty okay, but does stack and could be a fun little rogue deck. But I want to break down some of these two very, very powerful trainer cards. Lana's Care lets you put three of any combination of Pokemon that don't have a rule box and basic energy cards from your discard pile to your hand. Now, this is a new Clara, but as you may notice, you cannot get the likes of Radiant Greninja and Radiant Charizard, which is definitely a little bit of a change. You can obviously get likes of Sableye, Comfey, heck, even Baxcalibur and Frigibax from this and Lana's Care. This is a decent recovery card. I could definitely see a little bit of play. We also see the Survivors card, which is a brand new tool card for as an ace spec. If the card is attached with full HP and will be knocked out from an attack from the opponent's Pokemon, this Pokemon is not knocked out and its HP is now 10. We've seen this before in Focus Sash for fighting type Pokemon way back in the day of Furious Fist sort of era. I think this actually is a pretty good card, but we're going to wait until the likes of Lost Vacuum get rotated, because as soon as you just tap this on, you just hope your opponent doesn't get a KO. Most decks have played one, maybe even two Lost Vacuums, so I could see it's a little bit of a dead card, but we are still seeing Hero Escape be played. This Survivors card is pretty decent, but I don't know how powerful it's going to be straight away, but definitely something to be kept on your radar. So, about those new cards out of the way, let's look at some City League results, these Town League Championships over in Taiwan, which happened in the past few weekends. So we see this top 16 breakdown. We see a Charizard actually do really well. We're obviously winning the event, which is no surprise because Charizard right now is the current best second format over there in Asia, having at least about 20 to 25% of the meta share, which is a really strong percentage. But we are seeing here the likes of Giratina get a top 4, as well as also a top 16 with the Arceus build. So we are still seeing Giratina do as well as it can do. Yes, you've lost the likes of Escape Rope and obviously more importantly, Battle VIP Paths and Path to Peak, but it's still adapting. The likes of Buddy Buddy Poffin, Temple of Sinnoh, and even like some adding more Pokegear to really try and search out those choruses as much as possible. We also are seeing there's some Quagsire, which actually got top 4. This is that Quagsire V, if you remember, one of the only V cards that never got printed. It was like a gym promo in Japan. We just never really got it, but it's fun to see it actually did do pretty well at this town league. Some other lists as well to be noticeable. We are seeing them Xianpao get top 16, as well as also a Lugia build with Iron Hands, which I think is a very interesting one as well. Futurebox getting second place and top 16. It's good to see that this is kind of like they're accumulating to see the Futurebox kind of work out. I know definitely the Turbo build of Iron Hands is probably the strongest one, which we will talk about later. There is sneaky inclusion that can actually push this to be a little bit of a stronger archetype. Still doing pretty well, as well as also a ton of Charizard with Bibarel. So again, nothing really big surprising from this town league. This one here, however, is a little bit more different. We saw Great Tusk actually win, and Xianpao get second, top 4, and top 16. For me, as someone who absolutely loves Xianpao, I'm always grateful to see it actually perform pretty well, especially with that second place and top 4. Still gives me a lot of hope for this archetype in the future. But Great Tusk getting that first place is definitely a little bit of a surprise. This is a brand new archetype, which is still obviously being fleshed out. I do think the top 16 from the Champions League about a month ago was probably the best way to play it. I love the Comfey. I think that's a really good energy to draw some cards and have that really good pivot out as well. I also think that you have to streamline your supporters, which from my experience, I've seen it's been pretty okay. And against Xianpao, I would say it's definitely more of a 50-50. I was definitely in the thing that like Great Tusk is a lot better in the Xianpao, but still a little bit more unfavored. So it's definitely something which I've noticed a little bit more. We are seeing some Turbo Iron Hands did actually get top 8 and the Future Box got top 16. And a ton of the Paradox Paradox Lost Box getting that top 16 as well. This is a really interesting one. I love seeing these top 16 breakdowns. I think it's really good to kind of understand these larger tournaments, especially in your testing. So we're seeing likes of Charizard win and a Great Tusk. How would that impact your testing? Will you be needing to tech against it? Will you need to be testing against them as well? So definitely that's why I love about looking at the results. It's giving me that bit more of an understanding, kind of like notifying that, okay, Lost Zone is still pretty good. We're seeing likes of Lugia and Xianpao and Charizard constantly do well, but Great Tusk should that now be on my radar. So let's look at the top 16 meta percentage breakdown. And we can see here that Charizard is still on top by between 23.2%. It hasn't really left that spot at all ever since this kind of been post rotation. It is one of the strongest archetypes right now, and honestly, it kind of deserves it to be up there. Lost Zone is there at second place, which is pretty good, being at 12.7%. I really like this one. It's having a huge resurgence right now, especially in the likes of the Iron Hands and Roy Moon. Really good secondary attackers, really good ways to kind of accelerate the prize rate. You still have Sableye, because a lot of people aren't respecting Lotso maybe as much as they should do. I've seen a lot less Jirachis and more Manaphy's in play, so people respect Greninja more than Sableye, so you can definitely sneak out a few wins that way. Shein Power snuck up to be one of the third most represented decks, being 9%, while switching out from Lugia, which is now at 8.4%. What I find is very interesting is that Shein Power definitely was a little bit on decline, but I feel after this week, I've seen a bit more of a resurgence. People are playing a lot more Shein Power, a few more techs as well, which I'm definitely going to be talking about. I've got a huge Shein Power breakdown video going to be released on Wednesday or Thursday, which is going to be all about how to play Shein Power in a post-rotation format, and I really hope you guys enjoy that. Lugia has been at 8.4. We are constantly seeing it be at that 8.4%, but we got to get in a minute. We did see a huge decrease in Lugia actually performing as well as we thought it would do. But here it is, the Giratina being 7.6, 7.8 for the Lost Zone build, as well as also 5.9 for the Arceus build. A lot of people did think that the Arceus build is stronger because you can have Iron Leaves, Maximum Belt, but people have now weirdly clocked on that even after the Champions League result, Iron Leaves is a very good attacker in the Lost Zone version, and as you have, all you do is just up the grass energies from the psychic energies. So have 4 grass and 3 psychics. And honestly, deck is been performing incredibly well. It's been a huge talk right now on Twitter. It seems that everyone's now just realized that Giratina has always been good. I've always noticed it's been pretty powerful. It's never really got the results it's required right now, but seeing it finally get that big on the graphic, which you're going to see very shortly, is really good to see. Turbo Iron Hands is still the best way to play Future Box, being the 6.3. The Roaring Moon as well, I believe it's the ancient version, but some people is also thinking it could generally just be regular Roaring Moon, because it's doing incredibly well right now. Not like winning many results, but it's definitely been a lot more apparent. Raging Bolt actually did make it here, being 3.2, actually getting quite a few wins. Definitely more favoring the Lost Zone version of this deck. So instead of you just relying on the Sandy Shocks and going through Energy Acceleration for Sada, you kind of use the Lost Zone package and get into the Mirage Steps and kind of energy acceleration that way. So it's like a late game attacking option while being single prize with Sableye and Cramorant. And then you can use your Raging Bolt for their big one-hit KOs in the end. And obviously Snorlax and Mill doing very, very well. I really like this graphic. I think it's the best top 16 things we've seen in quite a while. Not only that, because I love seeing Shein Power being at 9%, but we're seeing some Charizard still perform well, and we're seeing some still creativity out of that. We're seeing some counters to Charizard, like the Giratina, really kind of come through. If we just look at the top 6 placing decks, we can see that Lost Tina actually came third, gained 10 wins, 5 second places, 10 top 4s, and 17 top 8s. You might go, Charlie, that doesn't seem that many big results. When we look at Charizard with its 68 top 8s. Well, we've got to also think about there's also that top 16 percentage-wise, and it's still a really good show, especially over 1,000 results. Shein Power did go up to 4th place by getting quite a few wins. There's also the Block Clacks as well, did also get back into the results by getting 5 wins as well, and Arctic didn't move that much by getting 4 wins as well. Definitely, like we're seeing here, we are seeing quite a few of that top 7 decks kind of rotate in. I would say Lugia is just outside, but having them Lost Zone Tina kind of shook back in, it's definitely a little bit of a surprise, and I'm very much a big welcome one. So we're going to break down some of these lists as well, but I just thought we just look at what these top 6 decks are, especially if you're testing for EUIC, which I know a lot of people are. These are definitely the 6 which I'll be definitely focusing on. Shein Power is incredibly strong. Charizard is definitely the best version to play. A lot of people are now favoring the Pidgeot build. I'm noticing a lot more. Definitely in Japan, they do like the Bibarel Evo build, but the Pidgeot build is having a lot more talk. I think it's a lot stronger. That's the build I've been testing with, but as long as you have an answer to the likes of Vulpix, I would say Charizard is definitely up there as the strongest pick to play and definitely the best deck in the entire format right now. Let's break down some Giratina lists, which have actually been built to try and counter the Charizard EXs. So we've seen this one here, which is the winning list, which has had quite a lot of talking to it. I believe this is the one Hero has been playing as well. We can see here it has a 4-3 Giratina build, but also having the likes of 1 Iron Leaves. We can see here the energy split is gone to 4 of the grass energy, 3 psychic, 3 water, and 4 jet energy as well. What I like about this is with jet energy and the likes of the emergency board, they work really well. You can like use the config, you can then put a emergency board in it, retreat into another config, another flower select, and even jet energy Giratina, and all of a sudden you're at 4 in the lost zone as early as turn 1. I think this deck is very, very powerful. The Forest Hill Stone is a really nice inclusion. We saw this quite a bit, I believe in LAIC was the first time we really clocked into it, when it got the top 8 placement. Pure on the basis, it just gets you any card. In a format which you might not need to use Star Requiem, that is an absolutely incredible way to try and get any one card you might get, one of the missing pieces. We're seeing that this deck is definitely favouring the more of the Prime Catcher. A lot of people definitely thought having the likes of I'm blanking on it. Maxim Belt is a much stronger one, helping the Charizard matchup. We've got Iron Leaf, Star Requiem, and Star Abyss. Lost Fact. I'm generally banking on now Giratina's attack. You have that as well to do constantly 3 attacks into Charizard, but people aren't thinking that. They can go, right, I can Sable, I can Cramorant to get those other sort of attacks as well. So I'm just going to use the likes of having that Star Base, having that Lost Impact, having the Iron Leaves, and really good other attacking options into those sort of decks. The Canceling Clone really helps you into it one. Kind of like lean into using Greninja as an attacking option, going through the mana feed. So I really like that this Lost Key is having that bit of that creative choices. The switching cards as well, only having 2 switch cards is definitely kind of where we're seeing this deck. I do see some maybe like 2 switches as well, but having a Prime Catcher, you do have that as a gusting effect, and this probably is a little bit slower. But having that full Giratina, you're going to be using the Lost Star Abyss, Lost Abyss Seeking very early on. But we're seeing here at the second place one a little bit more different. We're seeing here that it's definitely focusing more on a Lost Zone style deck, having the Iron Hands as well as other attacking options, which definitely has some merit to it. We've seen Iron Hands be used before in Lost Tina, but you can see the split. It is a 2-3 line, very heavy on the Tina V style, because we don't have no like Ultra Ball, no guaranteed ways to search out the likes of the evolved Pokemon. Having that high count is definitely a good thing because you'll be drawing into it as much as possible. Here we are playing the Maxim Belt, so you have a Lost Impact and a Star Requiem to try and get those 2-hit KOs on the Charizard to get in those big 1-hit KO, not potential. Iron Hand as well helps you against like Luminions, helps you against Bibarel, helps you against any sort of thing to try and get out those cheeky few extra prize cards. There's also having the more high counts of Counter Catcher, the Roxanne, which we're seeing is a lot more popular right now in these style decks here. I still like the one split up the Roxanne and Iono, but some people are favoring just 2 Roxannes or 2 Roxannes and 1 Iono. Town Store as well does make sense, especially in this build here. Getting the Maxim Belt, getting the Forest Hill Stone, getting the like emergency board. So I do really like that in that inclusion. I think Lost Tina is definitely very innovative right now. Getting 10 wins is nothing to be shied about. I do think this deck is definitely going to be on the rise and potentially here to stay, as next week we do have Temporal Forces legal. Sorry, not legal, it's released over here in the West. So definitely next week, check back in to see exactly where Lost Tina falls into the top 16 bracket. Now let's look at some Arctina lists. We did see some few innovations. Here we saw quite an interesting one, having the likes of a Radiant Charizard as a Radiant of choice and another really good attacking option. Why I like Charizard in this one? Well, you can chuck a choice pet onto it and you can do 280 damage. The Maxim Belt can do 300 damage into an EX. Never really going to use that one, but having that choice belt, getting that 1-hit capability against a Arceus and Giratina and Lugia is really, really strong. Having that Magma Basement means you can power up your Charizard quite early on. You can do attachment, you can do Magma Basement, and if your opponent's taking a few prizes, not the classic like 2, so you can attack for 1 energy, it can actually do some damage around it. I love still playing the Eerie. I think Eerie is so good in the likes of decks which play high rare candy options like Charizard, like Xianpao, like even Gardevoir sometimes, but also against the likes of decks which, like Xianpao, does play very heavy items which they need to constantly use. Great Toss who can mill the likes of their Power Pads, their Super Rods. In Xianpao, you can get rid of the likes of Superior Energy Retrievals and Super Rod as well. So it's a really, really powerful disruptive card. That's what Arceus really requires. Lots of one or sort of supporters that have 3 bosses orders, which is definitely a little bit normal, 3 judges and 3 Ionas. So very, very disruptive, especially with the likes of the Counter Catcher as well. I really like this version of Arctina. It's a bit more having that innovation. That Charizard is such a good inclusion as a secondary attacking option. But this list here is a little bit more different. Having Pidgeot does make a bit of sense to try and have that searching out. Now you might go, why Pidgeot? Well, it's a pivot option, so immediately you have a Pokemon you always promote. It also gets you search any cards you might want to have, which is again, very, very strong because there is no real good ability lock right now in the format. The best one is Ting Lu, and it doesn't even affect the likes of EXs. So Pidgeot EX is incredibly strong. And it also has the likes of a 1/1 line of Giratina, as well as also 1 Iron Leaves. So you do have the answers to Charizard. So you can kind of go KO Lumineon with the likes of Arceus, then you have Giratina V-Star to try and get the KO on the likes of a Charizard with a Maximum Belt, and then Iron Leaves as well to have another response. So you do have an easy price rate with this one. Having the likes of Gardevoir make sure that Giratinas don't one-hit KO your Giratinas or your Arceus, which is really, really strong from your opponent side. So also having the likes of a heavy ball, you need that. If you're playing a 1/1 line of Giratina and 1 Iron Leaves, you want to try and get those cards out. So I really do think that makes a lot of sense. Having also the Mist Energy, make sure that the Giratinas from the Lost Zone version, as well as also the likes of Roy Moon doesn't one-hit KO any of your Pokemon in response. I really like this build. I think it's so initiative, so creative. Having Call for Family of Pidgey, having 3 of them, make sure you can get that set up so you're never really missing out on any really of these big attacks. I think it's really good. I love seeing that Archie. It's having that innovation, but we are still seeing the common trends, a lot more disruptive supporters, having that Eerie, Temple of Sinnoh, definitely all of these makes a lot of sense. So let's break down some of the other lists as well, which are doing well, apart from just Giratina. So we saw this Lost Zone build as well, which I thought is really interesting to talk about. Because it has the likes of Iron Leaves in this deck, we don't really see Iron Leaves as an other partner. This feels a lot more future build. What I love about Iron Bundle is it can really help in likes of stall matchups or even the likes of a Vulpix style build. Yes, I know you can like KO into the Vulpix from the likes of Iron Hands, but say for example they have a Pokemon on the bench which you can easily gust out, having that Iron Bundle can really help in that one. Iron Leaf definitely helps you in the Charizard matchup, as well as also the likes of Radiant Charizard. Having a really good attacking option to go into it, hitting 250 damage. It was having Crisis Punch, you attach that to Charizard, attach that to Cramorant. You can use that for free, which is really powerful, especially if your opponent only needs 1 prize card, which you can pretty much one-hit KO anything on their field. I think this is a really innovative Lost Box deck. It's definitely the biggest surprise I've noticed. We're always seeing the likes of a Raikou or a Roy Moon or an Iron Hands all together with a Greninja, but seeing the likes of an Iron Leaves and Radiant Charizard in one Lost Box shows that there is some innovation happening still in Lost Zone. Is this a really good inclusion? Should we start be testing this version of Lost Box and not playing the Roy Moon build? Definitely up to personal preference, but this one here I absolutely love. This is an Arceus deck with an Armarouge, which has seen a ton of resurgence right now. This could easily be capitalizing on the likes of there's a lot of Iron Leaves out there, and also it can have a ton of HP. Delphox is an incredibly good secondary attacking option, pretty much doing 120 damage to the active Pokemon and on the bench on the cottages, lost only 2 energies is a little bit much, but when you think about that, that's KOs 2 Bibberals, that KOs 2 Charmanders or Melians, that KOs some Frigibaxes, that KOs quite a lot of cards. It's a very powerful attacking option. But Armarouge makes it a little bit more sense. You have the Armarouge, you can move around your energies and you can energy accelerate them from the likes of Magma Basin. Whereas also have an Armarouge EX, which is a big attacking option near the end of the game. Has a ton of HP if it has full HP and it's before to get damage. It has an additional 80 more damage, which is very good. There's also Radiant Charizard as a really good secondary attacking option. Maximum Belt does make sense because you can touch that to an Arceus and you can get these KOs from the likes of Iron Hands, whereas also She Empowers and the likes of that. There's also your Armarouge can boost up some of its damage. I think this deck is a bit interesting. We are seeing it get quite a few wins. It did get quite a few top 8s as well. So could this be a bit on your radar? Should you be testing it? Is this just an art pile? Definitely leave that up to you to really think about it. This is another version of Charizard which is still doing well, the Lost Zone build. This definitely did see a little bit of resurgence, but not as much as we kind of thought about it. I just thought I'd share about it because it's been a while since we've seen the Lost Zone version of Charizard. Yes, we saw Toad's incredible performance getting put forward with that Charizard Rapid Strike box, which honestly had so many singletons, but this Lost Zone deck kind of like brings me back to like when people were still discovering how to really best way to play Charizard. What I like about this one, you do play an Articuno for the Cramorant, so you can do additional 10 more damage. At 120 sometimes can help you in that magic number, especially that 2-shotting. There's also getting rid of those Pokemon which always have that 120 damage, which you can never really get the big KO, like Bibarel and like Cresselia, which I believe is still in the format. The rest of it is still the classic sort of Lost Zone package, high switching counts, to play the Artisan to get any of your Pokemon out, as well as also some good disruptive cards like Iono and Roxanne. I think this deck could actually see a little bit of play, but does play quite a lot of counter catchers, always expects to be on the back foot, and you can use Charizard as well in the late game. I really like this deck. I think it's quite initiative to try and power up this Lost Zone deck to really help in other matchups as well. But also this Future Box, this is what I was on about. The one tech which we're seeing quite a lot being played in this one is Iron Boulder. Why is Iron Boulder played? Well, it's definitely a very mid card, but also can help a little bit on the mirror match. You can respond to the Iron Hands very easily because in the mirror match, unless you have all of your guys out and the future energy capital, you can't really get the big one-hit KOs on the likes of response. So as Iron Bundle, Iron Boulder is a pretty good secondary attacking option. Iron Bundle is a really good gusting effect here. We're seeing the likes of what I've been really testing, 2 boss and 2 countercatcher. I love seeing the innovation from the likes of from the top 16 results. So it's really, really powerful. Still relying on the gust energy because you don't really have that much of a draw sort of factor on this one. What I like this one, they are playing the prime catcher instead of like the reboot pod, which I've been testing a lot in my list. And also the 1 psychic energy and 1 fighting. So you can attack with Iron Boulder as well as also Miraidon. Have a secondary Pokemon attacking with single prize Pokemon, which can capable to KO these big 2 prize attacking options. I really like this build. I think it's really fun. This deck here is definitely a very hit or miss deck, but I really think that Turbo Iron Hands could actually be a threat to the meta. And also control. Let's just talk about control just a little bit. It's still doing very well. It's definitely the strongest control it's ever been. We're seeing it have a ton of very good cards as well. We're also seeing the likes of Luxurious Gate, which we haven't really seen much in some control archetypes as well, making sure it's right to the 2 prize Pokemon is a little bit not really to be trifled with, but also it gives you the same amount of HP as Hero's Cape. So you have that capability as well. I like the Chi-Yu because you want to have that mill sort of effect as well, but also that Mantike as well. Yes, I know you get a Pokemon from yourself on the bench, but also you could trap zone from the opponent's side with the likes of the counter catchers and also the gusting effects you play as well. I think Forest Hill Stone definitely makes an inclusion in this deck as well, try and get from the likes of the Rotom and also Pidgeot EV as well. Not seeing the likes of Temple of Sinnoh is a little bit interesting because you're kind of like stopping the likes of Jet Energy, but it's definitely something to be considerate about if you want to be testing about control. Should you be playing Temple or should you prioritize Artisan to get any of your Pokemon you might need out in play? So that wraps up today's video, and I kind of want to finish off by talking about these 3 very important things. Can Tina really keep Zard in check? We've seen Tina have these huge expenses with that Lost Impact, Star Requiem, and Iron Leaves really helps you keep Charizard in check. 3 attacks which you can easily do in a Lost Zone build, as well as also having lights in the Arceus build as well, having these 2 of those to try and get the big pressure on Charizard. Will Lugia bounce back? Yes, I know it was just outside at number 7, but Lugia kind of like definitely has a little bit of decline. Still at that 8.4%, but it's always near that 8.6, so it's a little bit lower placement. Will people really respecting like some of the Iron Hands build and kind of like not wanting to play it purely on the basis of how much of a bad matchup that is? And most importantly, it's still the best it's ever been. I generally think it's the strongest Stall has been. It's incredibly powerful. It can deal huge amount of damage, huge amount of disruption to your opponent's side, but that's also absolutely deck out your opponent. I think we're in such an exciting time for the post-rotation metagame. I really hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Don't be sure to check back in a few days' time where I might release my big Shi and Pow sort of breakdown, especially how to play it in the post-rotation metagame, give my thoughts and feelings on all my testing I've kind of done, and hopefully that will help you really understand what I think is one of the strongest decks in post-rotation. And if you like that sort of video, I might do another one as well. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I'll see you guys later. Bye for now.